And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and this is our 2025 MLR Conference Championship reviews. Two amazing games. One of them a little bit one-sided, but one of them a really nail-biter with an ending I don't think any MLR fan was expecting to see. We'll go a little bit more into that. But some exciting conference championship games leading up to our finale at Centreville Bank Stadium, excuse me, in Rhode Island, as we are going to soon crown a 2025 MLR champion. But before that, let's go over these two matches. Again, this video just a little bit different than our usual format. No power rankings, no big... there will be a preview of the championship game with, of course, my prediction. But we'll be going over just the two matches that we're on. Again, let's start with the Eastern Conference, a nail-biter of a game between the New England Free Jacks hosting the Chicago Hounds. This rivalry has been a very exciting rivalry. This is actually a rematch from last year's Eastern Conference Championship game where New England won that game, and unfortunately for Chicago, they came so close this time around, but New England was able to fend them off. Let's start with it. At the beginning of the game, it was all Chicago. I mean, there was an amazing saving tackle by Paula Bellicana, who usually is really good on scoring tries, but he was able to race down and tackle a Chicago would-be try scorer with an amazing tackle to knock the ball loose. Unfortunately, Paula Bellicana did not score in the game, but in the first half, it was all Chicago. Chicago up 10-0. We should mention that Ben Lesage, a very talented Canadian player for New England, unfortunately got hurt in the first half. Hopefully he will be okay for the championship game. But again, Chicago up 10-0. Chris Hilsenbach, who has been just an amazing player for Chicago, amazing off the tee, keeping Chicago ahead of New England. He had an amazing, in the second half, an amazing kick pass to Noah Brown for a try to again make it 17-0. At this point, it wasn't until the 50th minute. It took 50 minutes for the mighty New England Free Jacks to finally score their first try, and then it started to open up. They scored another try right after that. Hilsenbach, as I mentioned before, he was able to get a penalty kick to keep Chicago ahead by 6. Unfortunately for Chicago, New England was able to score a try, but by Paul Sequeira. It was an automatic 7 under the post, so that allowed New England to be up 1-0, but in the last couple of minutes, Chicago able to get a penalty off of New England. Hilsenbach setting up to kick the penalty kick. Kick was up, and then, unfortunately, the feed died. And fans all over the country, MLR fans, were left on the edge of their seat wondering what happened, who won. If you're able to look through social media, there were videos that were posted of the kick. Unfortunately, Chris Hilsenbach, who is usually so clutch off of the tee, his kick went off of the uprights, bounced off, and was no good. So New England able to hold on 21-20. Heartbreaker for Chicago, but what a game. Very unfortunate, though, the last couple of minutes, the most crucial part of the game was not able to be aired. But again, if you go through social media, you could probably find a live video from a fan that recorded the kick. And New England punches their way into a third straight MLR championship game. But who will they be going against? We'll find that out with the Western Conference Championship game. This one taking place at Zion Stadium, a little bit more one-sided. Many were wondering, because if you were keeping track, Houston had to actually play a day later than originally planned because the Houston LA game was delayed due to horrible conditions in Houston. Some people were wondering if this one day off would give Houston a little bit less chance to rest. That was not the case, as Houston, coming right off the back, scores. Jordan Trainer, another talented player for Utah, unfortunately had to be taken off of the pitch. He was not able to leave on his own will. Hopefully he's okay. Don't know the issue with him. Utah, though, was able to strike back. At the 30-minute mark, AJ Alatimu, who's struggled all season, actually ended up starting to pick up quite a great season at the last couple weeks, was able to get a very smooth try and convert the kick. A intercepting try by Talatasi Tasi, who's also been having a great try. It's been all Houston in this game. Then, unfortunately, there was a try that was saved by the converted former football player from LSU to rugby player who's been a dynamic for Houston, Drake Davis. He had a questionable tackle on Joe Mono, which, if you look at the replay, looked very reckless. I mean, I'll call a spade. Looked very reckless. No arms in the tackle. Head-to-head contact. Very controversial tackle. Unfortunately, when the TMO reviewed it, deemed it was a perfectly legal tackle. You can't argue with the fact that the tackle was made. Joe Mono was taken out of the pitch. He didn't score a try, but I mean, it looked very reckless, very dangerous. I'll admit, I've seen plays like this not necessarily been given a red card, but more than likely would have been given a yellow card, maybe even a penalty try, because I feel that if Drake Davis didn't make that tackle, Joe Mono would have scored. So, if anything, there should have been a yellow card, which we'll play into later. If anything, maybe not a red card, but definitely a yellow card. But there was no yellow card, so Houston plays on to the chagrin of Utah players. Later on, and that ended the first half. Houston was up 21-5 in the second half. Lance Williams, who has been very good for Utah in the later half of the season, looked like he might have scored a try, but unfortunately knocked on. And then, just seconds later, that same guy that maybe shouldn't have been playing in the second half due to a card that wasn't given, Drake Davis did score a try, an intercepting try. Again, some people would argue that he shouldn't have been playing, but it is what it is. Houston piling on the points, pretty much keeping the game away. Oh, but then later on, Drake Davis did get hurt, unfortunately. And of course, we don't wish injury to anybody, but Drake Davis looked like he did twist his ankle pretty badly. Don't know the status of him. Whether or not he'll be ready for the MLR championship game, we'll see. But he had to be carried off of the pitch. Right after that, though, Seth Smith, the mini Viking, got a try. He's been having a phenomenal career so far in Major League Rugby. Youngest player to ever score a try. Looks like a little mini bus. He's amazing. Scores a try. Pretty much puts the game away for Houston. Utah does get a couple tries at the end of the game. Paul Isike, who just announced his retirement from rugby, the original number one for Utah, was able to score a try. There was also a yellow card given to Houston. Utah scored a try by that, but by that point, game was already over. Houston easily wins the game, 33-19, makes their very first Western Conference Championship as well as their very first Major League Rugby final appearance. So, in the end, it's going to be Houston versus New England, and we'll talk about that match next. And it's all come down to this. This is it, the 2025 Major League Rugby Championship game, Saturday, June 28th, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time kickoff, Centreville Bank Stadium in Rhode Island, the brand new stadium in Rhode Island. It is the two-time reigning and defending MLR champions in New England Free Jacks, who at one point didn't look like they would make it to the playoffs, taking on the Houston SaberCats, the very first time that the SaberCats have made it to the final game. This is the third time in a row that New England has made it to the championship game. First time that any franchise has done that in Major League Rugby history. Will they become the very first three-time in a row Major League Rugby champions? Easily cementing themselves as the first dynasty here in Major League Rugby. They have a really good chance because if you look through the history between these two teams, Houston has never beaten New England. They are 0-4 against New England. Earlier this year, New England and Houston did face off against each other. New England won 36-17. This is a very lopsided rivalry, and but to be honest, Houston with the game against Utah looked great. Utah looked a little bit lost, but Houston was on fire. New England struggled a bit against Chicago, won't lie. It came down to a penalty kick. There is an instance, there is a world somewhere in the multiverse that New England possibly could have been the one eliminated in that Eastern Conference game. It'd be Chicago taking on Houston. That's how close it was. So, with that being said, will New England make it 3 times in a row, winning the MLR championship? The thing is, Houston has never been here before. New England has done this time and time again. And when it looks like New England is down and out, they just prove why they are the pedigree of excellence here in Major League Rugby. You know, what would help a lot with Houston, I feel, is if David Coutier was able to play. I don't think he is. We technically don't know the status of Drake Davis, whether or not he'll be able to play. He's been dynamic. New England has found a consistent kicker, and Dan Hollinshead. He, of course, would be the starting fly half for New England. New England has a very talented player in Paul Balakana. It's a very exciting matchup, but I feel that there's just a team that has another team's number, and I feel this is it. I think New England, and of course, Rhode Island is not very far from New England. I mean, you don't consider this technically New England's home pitch advantage, but it's not. Rhode Island's not very far from New England. I can't imagine that the stadium isn't filled with more New England fans and Houston fans. So I am going to give this to New England, and I do believe they will be the very first three-time MLR champions. But it should be a very good game. And again, you can watch that game live or on demand live on ESPN2, on demand later on ESPN or Hulu. Hulu plays the replays as well. It should be a very, very exciting game. So then, I'll be honest with you, I won't be doing a review of the game, so hopefully if you watch it, enjoy, but I will, of course, be talking a lot more rugby, especially USA Rugby, because remember, this is the summer of rugby. We got a lot of USA Rugby, not only men's, women's as well. We'll, of course, have a lot of college rugby as well. We have the draft coming up, so there is still so much more rugby to talk about. So just because this closes the end of Major League Rugby for the 2025 season does not mean that this channel will be stopping anytime soon. So, and I also might have a couple of watch-alongs too, because we do have those USA games, so be on the watch out for that, because everybody does love a good watch-along with Rugby411. So, as always, thank you very much for those of you who have been following me this whole entire season. For those of you who have followed me for multiple seasons, I always do appreciate your support. Enjoy the game. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the pitch.